Chapter 31. Roar. The fire-breathing lizard leader roared, and its clansmen rushed towards Yutian one after another. However, the fire-breathing lizard leader underestimated Yutian. Yutian is an elite martial artist. After activating his speed talent, his speed is enough to compare to a peak elite martial artist. More importantly, Yutian's sword skills are very strong. Shadow Kill. The bronze sword technique turned into a sword light, and the heads of two fire-breathing lizards were instantly cut off. Puff, puff, puff. As the sword light fell, one by one, fire-breathing lizards fell on the spot. And these low-level fire-breathing lizards, at the fierce beast level, couldn't even attack Yutian's clothes. They just consumed some of Yutian's strength. If the number of fire-breathing lizards was large enough, Yutian would indeed be very troublesome. But there were only 30 fire-breathing lizards, and they were not in his eyes. Seeing his men dying one by one, the leader of the fire-breathing lizards was anxious. It finally couldn't help but make a move, otherwise it would have become a bare-bones commander. When the leader of the fire-breathing lizard really stood up and rushed towards Yutian, Yutian clearly saw the whole picture of the fire-breathing lizard. It was 8 meters long, and each of the barbs on its back was 1 meter long, exuding a cold atmosphere. Judging by the breath, this fire-breathing lizard leader was a real mid-level fierce beast. Moreover, when the Charizard leader rushed to within 10 meters of Yutian, Yutian observed the Charizard leader's talent. Species: Charizard. Bloodline talent: medium. Fire talent: elementary. It's a primary flame talent. Yutian was surprised. Inferior fire talents can only triple their attacks, while primary fire talents can also triple their attacks. The strength of a fierce beast is stronger than that of a martial artist of the same level. If it weren't for the increase of the martial artist's yuan power, he wouldn't be able to defeat a fierce beast of the same level at all. But a fierce beast can also stimulate its bloodline talent, temporarily bursting out combat effectiveness. Once a fierce beast has time to stimulate its bloodline talent, it will overpower the martial artist. And this fire-breathing lizard leader was itself a mid-level fierce beast, and it also had a primary level flame talent, which had surpassed Yutian in terms of attack power. It's just going to kill it, Yutian decided. The fire-breathing lizard leader had a certain amount of intelligence, and as soon as it came up, it used its fire talent, forming a huge fireball and roaring towards him. Bang! A huge fireball exploded, turning into countless flame blasters. Under such an attack, Yutian was naturally inevitably attacked. But he ignored the impact of the flames, and he didn't even unfold the Yuan Force Protector. The Yuan Force of an elite martial artist is very powerful, and it can form a Yuan Force Protector. But Yutian felt that there was no need. After all, his Yuan Force Protector couldn't block these flame attacks at all, so it was better to save some Yuan Force. So, he rushed to the leader of the fire-breathing lizards. Shadow Kill. The Shadow Kill at the peak of Dacheng turned into a brilliant sword light and instantly slashed towards the fire-breathing lizard leader. The triple speed combined with the speed of the bronze-level sword technique made this knife extremely terrifying. If it were an ordinary elite martial artist, they would have fallen under this knife a long time ago. But the Charizard's defense was much stronger than that of an elite martial artist, and it collided with Yutian's knife with its head. Bang! The fire-breathing lizard leader stepped back a few meters. A deep knife cut was on its forehead, and a large amount of blood came out. 50,000 caddies of power. Yutian immediately tested the power of the fire-breathing lizard. The power of the fire-breathing lizard was 50,000 caddies, and the attack power of the flame was enough to be equivalent to 150,000 caddies. And Yutian's own strength was only 30,000 caddies. Plus the increase of Yuan Li, the strength exerted was only 60,000 caddies. With the bonus of the bronze-level sword skill of Shadow Kill, it was enough to be equivalent to the attack power of 120,000 caddies. It's just that, even so, Yutian's attack power was still much worse than that of the Charizard. He looked at his body. It was full of wounds from the flames. It looked very miserable. If it weren't for his top healing talent, he would definitely die. In the blink of an eye, Yutian's wound healed, and his wounds healed. On the other hand, the leader of the fire-breathing lizard's injuries had not healed, and its state was constantly declining. Relying on his top-notch healing talent, Yutian was completely desperate to attack the fire-breathing lizard leader. Gradually, the fire-breathing lizard leader's injuries became more and more serious, but Yu Tian was fine. 3 minutes passed. The leader of the fire-breathing lizard finally fell to the ground helplessly. Its vitality dissipated, and it died at the hands of Yu Tian, who was weaker than him. In fact, even if he didn't have a top-level healing talent, Yu Tian still had a chance to win. After all, he had a primary speed talent, which could be used to dodge the Charizard leader's attacks and then sneak up on the Charizard from time to time, or use the Shadow talent to sneak up on the Charizard leader when night fell, giving him a fatal blow. But Yi Tian didn't choose to do this. He just directly attacked. After all, it was faster to hunt the beast like this, and he didn't want to waste time. Then, Yi Tian cleaned up the remaining Charizard lizards and then looked at the corpse of the Charizard leader again. The blood of an intermediate-level fierce beast can be very valuable, especially the blood of an intermediate-level fierce beast with a talent for flames, such as the fire-breathing lizard, which is more precious. Its blood contains the power of flames, which is more effective for refining the physique. Therefore, Yi Tian did not waste the blood of these mid-level fierce beasts and collected them. The fire-breathing lizard was big enough, and there was naturally a lot of blood. Yi Tian had collected a total of more than 50 intermediate fierce beast bloods. Just these 50 or so pieces of mid-grade fierce beast blood were worth millions, which could be regarded as a big gain. After killing all the fire-breathing lizards, Yi Tian asked the Wind Wolf and others to come over. When they saw the corpses all over the ground, as well as the corpse of the leader of the fire-breathing lizards, they were all stunned. Yi Tian, you really killed this mid-level fierce beast? Wind Wolf was shocked. He took a closer look at Yi Tian but found that Yi Tian was only in broken clothes, but he was not injured. He suddenly guessed in his heart that Yi Tian must still have hole cards that he didn't know. But he was not a person who liked to get to the bottom of it. Besides, such a secret question, if he asked it, he would offend people, so he naturally wouldn't ask. The flesh and skins of the mid-level fierce beasts were not looked down upon by Yi Tian, but the Wind Wolf and the others were very rare. After Yi Tian's permission, they divided the entire fire-breathing lizard leader. The next day, Yi Tian followed Feng Wolf and the others to almost clean up the fierce beasts in this area. After ensuring that there were no fierce beasts, Yi Tian proposed to leave. When the Wind Wolf asked Yi Tian about the reason for leaving, he was stunned. What, Yi Tian? You are going to the area of the divine power ants? Chapter 32. The Wind Wolf knew the horror of the divine power ants. He inquired about this cleanup plan, and the final cleanup plan involved a nest of divine ants, which contained a large number of them. Although the divine power ant is only a low-level fierce beast, a single divine power ant is far more powerful than a fire-breathing lizard. Even an ordinary elite martial artist can't deal with one. This low-level fierce beast is too rebellious. If you were to rank low-level fierce beasts, the divine power ants could definitely be in the top 10. If there's a single divine power ant, it's not terrible. The key is that there are too many divine power ants, and they are overwhelming. Even great warriors have to take a break. Wind Wolf, I have my plan, and I have the means to save my life. It will be fine, Yi Tian said resolutely. The Wind Wolf also knew that he had no way to persuade Yi Tian, so he could only let Yi Tian leave. Yi Tian took the map, looked at it from time to time, and followed the route to the location of the divine power ants. Along the way, even if he encountered a fierce beast, he wouldn't hunt it, but avoid it. This wasn't near the Linhai base, but far away from it. Although there still weren't many high-level fierce beasts, Yi Tian had encountered no less than 10 high-level fierce beasts in total. He couldn't defeat any high-level fierce beasts, even some relatively powerful middle-level fierce beasts. He could only run when he encountered them. Therefore, in such a place, he didn't dare to be reckless. He had to be careful. Of course, he also occasionally encountered some martial artists hunting fierce beasts, but he didn't go up to help. Even if the other party suffered heavy losses, he was indifferent. Those people had nothing to do with him, and even if he helped, he wouldn't necessarily get praise, but might get into trouble. Besides, his only purpose now was the talent of the divine power ant, and nothing else mattered. In this way, Yi Tian was careful all the way, and with the help of his shadow talent, he avoided danger many times and finally arrived at the area where the divine power ants were located. A lot of warriors. After Yi Tian came here, he was immediately surprised. At the foot of a hillside, there were about hundreds of warriors gathered, and from their aura, the weakest ones had the strength of elite warriors. Perhaps there were many great warriors among them. That's someone from the Mo family. Yi Tian's gaze locked on one of them, Mo Jia Mo En. The reason why Yi Tian knew Mo En was because he killed Mo En's son, Mo Xiaobei, so he investigated the Mo family a little, so as not to suffer a big loss in the future because he didn't know the Mo family. Mo En's strength was only in the middle stage of elite martial arts, which was nothing to Yi Tian today. But Mo En's strength was difficult to even rank in the top 10 of the Mo family. At this time, Mo En and a group of elite martial artists of the Mo family stood respectfully behind an old man. That old man should be Mo Changqing, the great martial artist of the Mo family. Yi Tian said darkly. Immediately, he withdrew his gaze and didn't dare to look at Mo Changqing again, so as not to attract Mo Changqing's attention. Who? A cold drink came. Oops, found out. Yi Tian was stunned. He was far away, and although he didn't use the shadow talent, he walked cautiously, and with the trees in the shade, it shouldn't have been easy to spot. But he knew that he had been discovered. However, it wasn't Mo Changqing who found him, but another old man who looked very unfamiliar. His dress was also a little different from that of the people at the Linhai base, and the other party was actually wearing a suit of armor. Obviously, that person should be a great warrior who cooperated with the Linhai base to clean up the medium-sized fierce beast base. Boom! Under the command of the great martial artist, several elite martial artists dodged and came to Yi Tian's side. Yi Tian didn't escape. If he did, wouldn't he appear to have a weak heart? Besides, he didn't have any bad ideas. He had a clear conscience, so naturally there was no need to run away. I'm a warrior from the waterfront base. Yi Tian took the initiative to stand up. Several elite martial artists saw that Yi Tian was a martial artist, and they heard that Yi Tian was a martial artist from the Linhai base, so they didn't make a move. Which warrior is that kid? The old man frowned. I don't know. It's not my Lin family. I don't know either, and it's not our Mo family. I don't know. One family after another shook their heads. Yi Tian walked over and said truthfully, I'm not a child of a big family. I just completed the task of cleaning up the fierce beasts, and I am curious about the divine power ants, so I came over to see the excitement. At this moment, Lin Mingzi of the Lin family spoke. I remember, he is indeed a martial artist who participated in the cleanup plan. I didn't expect him to complete the cleanup task so quickly and come here. The reason why Lin Mingzi recognized Yi Tian was because he tried to recruit Yi Tian, but Yi Tian refused, so he had an impression. The talent is good, and he has reached the elite martial artist level at a young age, so let's stay and deal with the divine power ants. The old man spoke. Obviously, he had just used his spiritual power to probe Yi Tian's situation. Yi Tian's expression remained unchanged. He knew that he couldn't hide his cultivation in front of the great martial artist no matter what, so it was better to be generous. What? Elite warrior? This kid? Lin Mingzi's face changed drastically. He always thought that this kid was a martial artist, but he didn't expect the other party to be an elite martial artist. If he knew that the other party was an elite martial artist, he would have wanted the other party to join the Lin family no matter what. And the other families also looked at Yi Tian in disbelief, and they were all shocked. Yi Tian was able to step into the elite martial artist level at this age, and his talent was needless to say. It must be a high-level cultivation talent. Advanced cultivation talent. The heads of some families had the same expression, but they had small calculations in their hearts. Yi Tian smiled secretly, obviously sensing several malices, including the malice of Mo Changqing of the Mo family. Sure enough, jealousy produces hostility. Yi Tian didn't want to be hostile to these family heads either, but these families were always self-righteous, thinking that they would hinder their family, and they didn't want to witness the rise of another powerful family. However, he didn't look down on a seaside base at all. Even in the future, he would take his sister to leave the Linhai base and go to a wider world. It's a pity that these families would never understand. The great martial artist who found Yi Tian was obviously the person in charge here, and he asked Yi Tian to stay, and the people of the other big families did not dare to refute. So, Yi Tian stood aside and waited silently. Suddenly, a figure emerged from the soil and came to the great martial artist. Old Qing, the task is complete.